We got it. We are recording.
Well, perfect. Well, welcome everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We are recording and I want to make sure that we make an announcement at the beginning of the meeting so that everybody knows that the meeting is being recorded and and so everything you say is going to be recorded. And at the end, we will be posting it to our YouTube site. So if anybody ever wants to watch the meeting again, they can do that. So with that, I think we'll get started. And the first thing is to approve the agenda. So do we have a motion to approve the agenda? Margaret, and second by Robert. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? It appears from my screen that everybody's unanimous, although I don't get to vote. Okay, perfect. All right, well, away we go. So obviously we have a little bit lighter agenda than past, but I thought that it really would give us, it's important for us to meet, and we did actually have a project review that I thought was going to come up, but it didn't come through. So I think it's a good sign that we've caught up on project review, and this will give us an opportunity maybe to talk a little bit about elections and about committees and about sort of the direction of the planning board, and we do have a couple of presentations. So with that, Sarah circulated the minutes, and we're going to need, does anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes, and has everybody had an opportunity to review them? I assume everybody's had an opportunity to review them. Will anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
Well, I'll approve them if I don't have to do any paperwork because I'm one-handed. So I don't mind making the motion if somebody will do whatever follow-up we need to do.
You probably don't really have to, Corla, because it's pretty straightforward, this one, I think.
Yeah, they look real good to me. So.
All right, Sarah, welcome.
Thanks.
All right, well, then I saw a motion by Corla and a second by Robert. And if you go, I guess I was thinking that we could try this out since we don't have it, but for this, I don't know, if you hit on the chat button and you go, there's a thing called raise hand, which I'm trying to do right now. I don't know if other people can do that, but it shows up and then I can count the votes. Are people willing to do that, or do you want to just raise your hands?
I can't do that as host, but everybody else can, I think. So I think that might be easier to count, Fred.
Yeah, because sometimes it's hard to see everybody's. I got Margaret got a hand, has a hand, and Sarah.
Are we voting now? Is that the program?
Yeah, we're voting now.
Where's that option? I don't see it.
If you click on participants.
Oh, participants.
Click on participants, and then it'll have there's a bar there that says raise hand. David did it, Brad did it, Mandy. I'm going to count Don. I got you on the old-fashioned way.
I will be abstaining. I was not in attendance at the meeting.
All right, we'll count Jim as an abstention.
I'm also abstaining. I missed last meeting.
Okay, we'll put Eva down as an abstention. So that would be 7-2.
And then while we're looking, excuse me, Fred, for a second, while we're looking at how to use the website and the Zoom features, we discussed in project review that it would be nice, since there is a rename feature that is allowed in this meeting, if we put as board members PCPB or some other type of denotation that we are board members, so that the community knows who the board actually is. I don't know if everyone's agreeable to that, but we thought that was a good idea from project review last week.
Okay.
How do you do that, Corla?
Well, you go up on my screen where it says mute in your right corner of your picture, and there's 3 dots, and it allows you to rename. And I use a Mac, so I'm assuming it's the same on the computer. but there's next to the mute, there's 3 little dots, and stop video, pin video, there's different options, and rename is one of those.
There for me.
I'll let people work on that. I don't see that online.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not an emergency. I just thought, we all thought it might be a nice idea, and Lucky just joined us here as well, so.
Well, there we go. And I got 11.
Yeah.
So, I don't, I click on rename and it doesn't do anything.
You have, the box comes up with your name in it. So click on rename, and then a new window should open up on your screen that allows you to rename.
Oh, I see. It's on a different screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, Lucky, welcome.
Oh, thank you. Just a little computer challenged. I went to the city website to look at our agenda to click on, and November's not posted on the city one, just our domestic one.
All right. Well, you haven't missed too much. We've just approved the agenda. We've approved the minutes. And so we're just going to go to board officer reports. I don't have too much to report. I think that it's been a relatively quiet month. And I think sort of what I said at the top of the meeting is what's true, is that we've caught up. So the interim board is caught up, project reviews caught up. And all the different committees really have taken action and started moving. So I'm really pleased at where we're at. I guess the one thing that probably most people know a little bit about, but we got that notice from the housing authority at the last minute regarding Formosa Canyon. And I mean, I thought it was a little strange that they sent that to me, very short notice. And I was able to forward that to everybody, and particularly Margaret and Mandy did a great job getting notice out to the community. And we, as Margaret has reported back, it appears that we got 268 comments from the public on the project. So I just want to do a personal thank you to Margaret and Mandy for an excellent job on that. Yeah. So thank you. So that's really all I have. I don't know if David, if you're the vice chair, I don't know if you want to make a report now, or if you want to talk about elections later at sort of when we talk about committees.
I'll be happy to talk about elections now if you want, or we can wait until the committee reports, but I'll make it short and sweet, or that may not be sweet for everybody, but there really isn't a lot to report regarding elections. We have been waiting patiently for word from the planning department as to what, if anything, we can do in terms of holding an election. Carla has been reporting that the Community Planners Committee has been discussing the procedures that other planning boards might be able to use for elections. But at this point, notwithstanding regular inquiry by me to the planning department, we have not gotten any guidance at all about how we could conduct an election. And I'm reluctant to have a meeting of the election committee to talk about how we might do an election, because it's been pretty clear to me from the planning department that they're really not interested in our input, which shouldn't come as anybody's surprise. And that we should wait until we get direction from them. They don't seem to see the urgency in it. We all recognize that the end of the year is coming. We have another election coming up scheduled for March. We haven't even had the last one. We'll now have 12, I guess it would be, board members who would, or spots at least, that would be up for election if we don't have an election before March. So, but having an election committee, I know there'll be people who've been wanting to have an election committee meeting. I've had some things going on in my life in the last month that have really kind of prevented me from doing that. If people are really feel strongly we should have an election committee meeting to, prepare some sort of a proposal, I'm willing to do that. I do think it would be sort of a Pyrrhic exercise, but if we want to do it, I'm happy to chair a committee meeting to do that. So the other members of the election committee, if you want to speak up on that, let me know whether you think it's worthwhile spending our time to have a meeting and put something together, send it over to the planning department. I'm game. I'll set something up.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, David. When was the last time you reached out to Tony Kempton?
Probably a couple weeks ago.
Okay. Would there be a possibility to invite him to the subcommittee meeting to see if he can
Absolutely.
come with us and kind
absolutely.
of guide us, hold our hands? So
I suspect that invitation will be received about as favorably as other invitations to him have been, but I'm certainly more than happy to invite
Yeah.
anybody who could provide us some guidance.
okay, well, with the exception of December 3rd and December 8th in the evening, I'm pretty available if you would like to reach out to Tony to see if he can meet with us. The one issue that I have, David, is that we're encroaching again on a new year and a new election come March, and
I
not,
just said that.
you know, and we'll have not one but two. And
Yep.
so if you would want to reach out to Tony, I would be more than willing to meet with
Okay,
the
well, I'll
subcommittee.
schedule a time and date that works for him. How's that? That way we can sort of try to peg him down on a date. And then and if that means we're going to have a meeting during the day, that may be something we have to do. And that would be my preference anyway. But
Okay.
I'll check with him first, see what his availability is and his willingness to participate. And then I'll report back to the rest of the committee. I'll do that.
David, my
but he has-
recollection.
I'll do it
David,
I'll do it while we're meeting right now.
My recollection is that both Mandy and Margaret volunteered to help you, and I think Margaret has a question. So Margaret, why don't you go ahead?
I do. I've been part of all the meetings, the last two with the CPC, and it sounds like there are groups meeting and there are groups taking action and submitting their requests to the CPC. They were pretty much basically stating that they don't have a plan, but the groups are welcome to formulate a plan in the meantime and just bring it back for approval. And I think I'd like to see that route go than to have 12 seats up and kind of, I mean, just be up in air with a random standing board. I don't know. I think we should meet and kind of throw some ideas together. And also I would encourage inviting Tate. He is a step above Tony Kempton, and I have a really good relationship with him.
Who is that?
Tate, I can send you his information, David, and maybe you can reach out to him and see if he'd participate. And another gentleman named Marlon as well. They're all above Tony Kempton. And so I think that would help having some of those guys in this meeting as well, or at least extend the invitation, but some sort of brainstorming meeting to suggest something to these guys. And then of course they'll come back and say, yes, no, you can do it this way, that way, yada, yada, but we'll have something out there that we can suggest.
We'll see.
I agree, because Tony hasn't really given us a whole lot of direction. And I think if we come up with a plan, hopefully, maybe that will help motivate things to go forward.
Yeah, whole lot of direction is an overstatement.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. So great. I'm game. Margaret, if you can forward the contact info for those other people that you mentioned.
I'll do that right now.
Good, because I'm going to do it right now.
And I'm just going to point this out. I don't know, if we get, there's a chance certainly now that we're going to get to March, but people say 12 seats. I think that there's only 11, but I could be wrong, because I think one of the seats that was up at the last election was a one-year term. And so we sort of will have gone a term. So I think it'll be 11, but I'll leave that to the election committee to get the correct number. Do we have, I know some other people had asked me questions. So does anybody else want to ask David any questions about elections?
Yeah, real quick. Are we doing this via Zoom or in person, the meeting?
Oh, it'll be a Zoom.
Okay.
And I assume, Robert, that sort of indicates that you'd like to participate in that too?
He's on the
I
committee.
think I'm on that committee.
You're on
You
that
are.
committee too? Okay, good.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah,
well,
I'll be out of town and back the night of the December 3rd. But other than that, yeah, I'll do whatever we can do to get this put together.
so maybe Sarah, I got some questions about that, and I don't think it was in the prior minutes. So if we could put that in the minutes, that David as the vice chair is the election chair, but the subcommittee that's assisting David is made up of Mandy, Margaret, and Robert.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think that's already, we formulated that some time ago, but yeah.
Right.
But it's not in the minutes, so it's hard for people to
Oh, all right.
find it.
I think that
Any
was
other questions for
the
David?
committee we formulated back in February, I think.
Yeah, when we're doing the question and answers.
Okay, any other questions on elections? All right, good. All right. I guess we'll go to treasurer's report. Corla, we got any money?
Yes, we do, because we haven't had an election. We have a $757.81. We had a $100 donation towards our Zoom costs, and no activity because nothing's going on.
Okay, that's easy enough then. Sarah, do you have any report as secretary?
Nope, no, nothing from me.
Okay, and I don't believe Tony Kempton is on the call, so we have no report from the city planning department. So, Corla, do we have any non-agenda public comment?
Yeah, Cameron's got his hand up and he's waving. Could he go here?
Cameron, sure. Let's kick it off,
Hi,
Cameron.
everybody. Happy holidays and everything else. I had two non-agenda public items. I was actually going to say maybe with the election committee, we could look at just extending all board members by 1 year and then plan to hold elections in March. This is an idea for everybody to kind of think about. That kind of solved the problem of 11 members you could have, and then just kind of everyone would fall into their thing. And then the other thing I wanted to comment on is build upon Margaret's email and your report on the FOMOSA site. The San Diego Housing Commission Board voted last Friday to enter into exclusive negotiations with a Bridge Housing Company. They're out of San Francisco. I think it's kind of ironic that they couldn't find a local developer, so they had to go to San Francisco to find someone. But Bridge Housing Company is their recommended person. As stated, there's approximately 270 people who commented against, 6 commented in favor of it. A couple interesting things that they voted for was they are selling the property of 5.61 acres for only $800,000. And then they're going to turn around and give Bridge Housing Company a loan for over $900,000. So they're going to buy it, then they're going to loan them $900,000 to cover the costs. I will say that the letter that the PCPB sent out over a year ago, I think has some impact on it. The current proposal, they're looking to conserve the wetland and save the wetland and replace it with native plants. They're only looking to build 87 units on the site, and it'll be a mix of 1 to 3 bedroom units. Like I said, the Housing Commission Board voted 5-0 to enter negotiations. The next stop is it goes to the Housing Authority, also known as the City Council. That will be coming in a few weeks. So I'll make sure I let the board know when that will go to the City Council to once they vote there, then that will put them into exclusive negotiations on that. Like I said, the current proposal is to keep the wetland with all the walking paths and everything else, and then put the build only 87 units on there. Other than that, that's really where they're at with everything. They're still quite a ways out. Once the proposal is made, they plan on going back with the board and working with the board. Other than several condescending comments from the San Diego Housing Commission and the president of the San Diego Housing Commission, it was really nice to listen to all 268 people in favor of, against development of the FOMOSA. So it took them over 2 hours to read. It was quite humorous, actually. And pending any questions, that's all I got.
Thanks, Cameron. I really appreciate you keeping us informed and your good work on behalf of the community. Do we have any other non-agenda public comment? Go ahead, Corla.
Yeah, you got it right the first time. I would like to say that this short notice business, I think, is standard operating procedure for the city now, with complete communities and everything else that's going on. CPC is frustrated. Everybody's frustrated because they're just not giving us a chance to respond to actions that they're taking. I have a couple of things. Barbara Bree last month, I just wanted to reiterate, said to look up the Embarcadero Institute about housing numbers. The state is saying that we need more than what CPC and all the other planning groups think that we need. A discrepancy of what Bree said last month, 172,000 units we need, but it should be more like 112,000. Also, Monique Tello told us last month that recycling will be 1 day late. And I just, last Monday, the blue barrels were still sitting out there. So we got to remember that due to COVID and all the city issues, that our recycling will be a day late. So that's just something to know. And then Margaret, thank you for sending out that information. I was going to post it in the chat, but that saved me from trying to do that one-handed. DSD is going virtual and they'll be online only. And I got an email with a link that allows you to self-subscribe and enroll for all notices. So you can subscribe to any DSD notice that they offer. And I think that's a nice feature. And it's also, like everything else, going virtual, so you won't be down there anymore. It'll all be online. Oh, and CPC meeting is Tuesday, November 24th from 6 to 8:30. And if anybody's interested, the link is not posted. Tony hosts those meetings, and it's not set up yet, but I can get you that, or you can go on the city website for CPC and get the link to join that meeting. I know Margaret and Mandy have been so good about attending. It's very nice to have support from the Peninsula there. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, that is great to have extra support. I think maybe the Zoom makes it a little easier. You don't have to drive across town to go to the meeting, so that's good. But thank you for the report, Corlett. Mark, you got a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, just an informational item. Today we were sent a message in the most recent San Diego Union Tribune. If you've seen that, it was reported that the city of San Diego has 150 million sitting in parks account, and it seems to be spent during developer park impact fees for 40 something past development projects. So there's a group of environmentalists looking into why the money is just sitting there and how it can benefit our community on the peninsula with adding more park usage and more park space, wherever we can find room to save the last pieces of park space in our community. With all the developments coming up in the Midway district is going to be crucial. So I'm going to be super invested in that. I know Dawn, Mandy, there's a couple other people, but anybody else that wants to join us with, figuring out, where, a lot of that funds is and where it's going, we are definitely going to be working on that and can report back to the board. So you'll be seeing some updates with that kind of information coming up soon in the coming months.
Well, thank you, Margaret. And I mean, obviously, I think a lot of us are all in favor of more park lines if we can, but I want to also say thank you to Mandy, because last time we had the presentation by the tree lady, I can't remember her name right off the top, but I know that Mandy followed up on that. So, and started to try to get some more trees for us. So thank you, Mandy.
Yeah, and then speaking of that, the tree meeting, if you know of anyone who's wanting to purchase a tree, we have kickstarted our Peninsula tree planting group. We meet on Fridays at 2 p.m. So if you know of anyone who's also interested in tree planting and would like to join our efforts, have them reach out to myself. If you are interested in buying a tree or donating a tree, go to katestrees.org. There's a website there. It's a really cool website. You can buy the tree directly from there. It gives you all the information, how to plant it, how to care for it, how to properly dig prior to planting. So yeah, lots of goodness for our community.
And just to piggyback on you, Mandy invited me to a meeting, and the first meeting that you all listened to, the speaker, I walked away really not super convinced. I didn't get all the components of it and the importance of planting more trees in our communities. And until I really sat down and listened to this woman really speak different ways of how important it is to plant these trees in our communities. So the Peninsula portion of it, because right now it's Kate Sessions, the Peninsula portion of it that we are literally starting from ground zero is a way that you can actually purchase a tree as little as $34 and donate it as a gift for the tree. So the website has all those options right now where you can purchase a tree, gift it to someone, and then they take care of the tree in their yard, or we're looking for groups as well. So PLA, Robert, we're looking for buy these trees and plant them back into our community. So the more trees, the fresher the air, and longer lifespans for us, right? So we'll provide those links. I'm going to work with Mandy to get a special Facebook page set up for just us, the Peninsula, where we can monitor and see how much we're giving back to our own neighborhood and our own community as kind of like just a subgroup off of Kate Sessions. So it's not just going to Kate Sessions. We're actually working together to plant the trees in the Peninsula. So it's going to be really cool and something that I think the Peninsula Community Planning Board, it'll be fun for you guys to see and follow, and hopefully partner with Ocean Beach as well.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you,
you know-
thank you both.
One thing real quick.
Robert?
Oh, yeah. Does anybody know anything about the trees on Del Monte and Cable that were planted, I think by the Ocean Beach side? There were signs up yesterday stating that they're going to be removing them and there was no parking. And they were relatively young trees, but they weren't doing too well. But
I got a message about that. Did you hear about that, Tracy? On one of the OB pages, or Kevin? I thought I saw it on one of the OB pages.
Were they given part of the free tree program through the city?
yeah, they were planted like a year and a half, 2 years ago, but they've been kind of suffering. And I've been making an effort to try to keep them watered down there. We put some irrigation out for them. And this is an apartment building I manage. But then I saw the signs yesterday that they're going to be removing them possibly from what it was suggesting. So
How big are these trees?
they're maybe about 6
15.
feet.
They're probably 10, 15-gallon trees.
Right.
The only time I've heard that they would remove them is if they had an arborist come out. You're saying that they don't look like they're in good shape. They could be diseased, and the city may be removing them through the urban core. But I don't know. I would think maybe Get It Done or contact the city, the free tree planting. I don't know if Get It Done can provide you an update on that.
Yeah.
But that would be the only reason I would think that they would remove those trees, is because there's an issue with the roots, or they're diseased in some way.
Well, yeah. And then, people kind of mess with them when they walk by. They, break the branches and all that stuff. But the one thing I think it'd be nice for us to do, and I think PLA kind of is not too interested because they have their plate full, but if you've noticed at Harbor Drive and Nimitz, where the Point Loma sign is on our entryway, all those pine trees are dead in that median and stuff. And I think that would be a relatively simple project that would really enhance our entryway right there. And I would like to get involved with that. It's been that way for 3 or 4 years now.
Where did you say where that was, Robert?
Right when you're heading down Harbor Drive, heading right when you hit the Point Loma sign there, past the Animal Kid Club.
Oh,
all that tile that was done in 1981, all those trees are dead, and even the trees on the Navy side and on the Liberty Station side, they're all like they've seen better days.
And there's another area where we got dead trees, and that's along Nimitz as we enter there next to Dusty Roads.
Right.
I'd love to see us do something there. Get rid of the dead trees, maybe plant some new ones. Part of your program. That whole area along there could be beautified.
I believe that's part of the Ocean Beach Planning Board. They just made a request to the city to see if a right turn lane can be installed at West Point Loma and Nimitz there to help with the traffic that's backing up, and also to protect the bike lane. People are using the bike lane as a right turn lane. But I will bring it up. I mean, that's a great idea to beautify that corner. I agree with you, David. There needs to be some upkeep done on that corner for sure. So I can bring it up at the next meeting we have for, or Tracy, you can take it back to the group and let them know that trees are available if they want to beautify that corner.
Yeah, just say, Tracy, I would be happy to be involved with that, and my wife, who bugs me about it every time we drive by there, would also love to be involved in it, because it's an eyesore area and it's the entrance to our community coming from that direction, like Robert.
Right.
Yeah, so it's interesting because when we were discussing this with the board, Virginia actually is on the forestry board, and she said that there were plans to have that area beautified by the city. And apparently there's also plans to connect the bike route through there too. So there's stuff in the works, but of course it's the city, right? So, they're prioritizing their budget and time, and eventually we'll see something there. But for now, I think they're just letting everything die out because they have plans. That's the last I heard.
All right, well, thank you for all those comments. Lucky, do you have a public comment?
Yeah, actually, it was just a question. Has Point Loma ever tried to establish a maintenance assessment district?
Oh, God, yeah, we've been through that.
It doesn't sound like you have a very good flavor for that. And the reason I mentioned that was I was chair of the maintenance assessment district in North Park. And we were able to control all of our own tree plantings and if enhanced trash pickup and power washes of streets and things. And so I guess that hasn't, you said that's been tried, but I can come from a perspective where I can tell you we did that and we had very good results with that. We contracted directly with Urban Corps ourselves. And yeah, so anyway, so if there's any thoughts about maybe wanting to revisit that instead of being totally at the mercy of the city, which shows no mercy at all, maybe that's a conversation we could have again sometime.
Lucky for chair of that committee.
That's a long way to go before we get there, but I did have rather substantial. It's done through a tax assessment thing, which is always hard to push through. But once a community gets that in place and really is in control of a lot of its own beautification projects and things, that you find it's really a powerful tool for enhancing a community overall.
All right, any other public comment? All right, let's go to government reports. And I'm going to let District 2, your representative Monique, go ahead and take it over first. Hey there, we get to see you this time, Monique. You're on mute. There you go.
I am muted myself this time. So on Tuesday, the council, they created a coordinated street outreach program that authorizes the San Diego Housing Commission to contract with people assisting the homeless, also known as PATH. It is building on a successful pilot project that was in City Heights and North Park that uses case managers to reach out to unhoused and unsheltered residents in the area to connect them with housing services and other much needed services that they may need. So that is going to be something that is going to be kicking up within the next couple months. They also voted to approve a memorandum of understanding for the San Diego Housing Commission to operate the Homelessness Response Center over down in Imperial Avenue. That is where the Housing Navigation Center has been operating for the past couple months. And additionally, they also voted to take actions for the Mission Valley Riverwalk San Diego project to move it forward. It's going to include 4,300 rental and owned residences, as well as a retail space and a new green trolley line and the park and open space of the San Diego River. We will be hosting a year-end in review. The council member will be hosting a year-end review via Zoom. That's going to be taking place on December 16th from 12 to 1. I will put the link in the Zoom box as well. I'll send it to Fred to kind of disperse to you guys. It is also posted on our Facebook page. You could sign up through that link, or you could also email Josh. He's going to be the one providing the links for everybody. So if you want to attend, we're going to be speaking about the past year, also some fiscal 21 policy priorities, and answer some questions from the community. And I had one more thing, but I totally forgot about it. I will also include the link to the recycling. I know it was mentioned tonight. you could always check to see if your recycling is going to be impacted. They've created a little map where you just plug in your address and they'll say if it's going to be DP'd or not. So that's really helpful to know whether you should put out your recycling or not. Are there any questions?
I'll let me start and then I'm gonna let David go. But Monique, my recycling has been getting picked up, so at least I'll keep you posted. But I was just curious. I don't think that Jen Campbell has taken a position on Formosa Canyon, and I know there's a lot of people in the community that have, you know, a strong interest in that project and what's going on there. So, can you give us some information as to what Jen Campbell's current position is and what she's going to do to reach out to the community to try to work with the community on the Formosa Canyon?
Fortunately, I'm not versed in this. I'm so sorry. I just learned about it yesterday as well. It was posted on the Housing Commission. I checked their website. I'm going to have to reach out to Josh with that, what was done in the past and everything. I could send you an email with some of that updated information. It's just I wouldn't be able to speak on it tonight. And I do apologize. I was just not really caught up to speed within the past month that I've been here.
Okay, well, yeah, I think that we're gonna have a lot of interest in that. So I can talk to Josh and give us some more input. That would be great. But
Maybe Miller has something to add because he was kind of involved with it, you know, back early on.
Yes.
yeah, we'll keep it to Miller. Do you have something you want to add now, or do you want to wait we'll wait for Miller's turn?
Okay.
And then if you do have any issues with your recycling, if you want me to take a look into it, just feel free to email me. I'm always reaching out to staff regarding that. So if it hasn't been picked up within 4 weeks, that's definitely a problem. And I highly recommend you to reach out to me so we could work with staff on that.
Fred, do you use the Get It Done app when they miss your pickup?
They've come to my place, so I don't
They're
know.
just not picking it up.
Really? Huh. I mean, I get missed fairly frequently because I'm on the tail end, I think, of their collection route, and sometimes they get filled up and then they have to go and dump and come back. But every time they miss, I go on the Get It Done and put it in there, and they usually show up that day or the next day. So not sure what's going on there.
I saw your hand up, David. Do you have a question?
Monique, I had a question for you. We have an oversized vehicle that's parked on a street in our immediate neighborhood. And I went to Get It Done to report it, you know, being parked. It's been parked there now for a couple of weeks. It's a big motorhome. And I got a notice that the oversized vehicle ordinance is not being enforced right now. And I inquired why. And they said because of COVID. Of course, everything is because of COVID. And but they are enforcing meters and red zones and other parking ordinances. I tried to call the mayor's office because I was told by the police department that it was a directive from the mayor's office. But when you call the mayor's office, you can't actually speak to a human being. You have to leave a message, and you can't leave a message because the mailbox is full. So I was going to call Jen's office, but I figured since I've got you right here, I'd ask you, put you on the spot, or maybe you could find out the answer. Why are they not enforcing the oversized vehicle ordinance and they're enforcing everything else?
I think they did pick it up. I didn't know there is some type of miscommunication about that as well, but I always encourage you, if it's been there for a very long time, reach out to our office, send me the address, the license plate number, the model, the make, the color of the car, anything that you would submit in the Get It Done report, you can send it to me and we'll reach out to the City of San Diego Police Department and see if they could go out there and look into it.
Great. Thank you.
Eva, do you have a question
for me?
Yeah, no worries. And you could always send it in a chat if you want to do it right now. If you have that information, feel free to send it in a chat and I could just write it down.
Like a chat here in this forum, or to you directly, like a cell phone chat?
The forum, the Zoom group, just the private one, if you want to do that, or you could send me an email, whatever you're comfortable with.
I'll do it in the private one right now. Okay, great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, go ahead, Eva.
A quick follow-up question, Monique, for you regarding somewhat related to recycling. Pre-COVID, the Environmental Committee, we sent a letter to the city inquiring about composting and if that was something that was on the city's radar. now during COVID, obviously a lot of us are cooking at home more. There's a lot more food waste being produced at home, and the trash volume has significantly increased for personal use as opposed to restaurant or commercial trash pickup. Is the city at all reviewing or re-evaluating the option of adding compost pickup to their regular trash pickup?
I know that's always been a question about composting. They would always give some weird answer of it's too much, it's going to cost a lot. I think it's always an ongoing basis on how they're going to introduce it. Definitely right now, I could see that's maybe put on the back burner. If you want, I could reach out to staff to see if there has been any updates that we could share with the community about that, but I haven't received any directly from them in the recent months.
Okay.
Yeah, and
I
I'm gonna
understand.
add in there, Monique, I think that it was Jim Hare that told us about maybe his daughter or somebody like that who lives in Portland, and they have a very effective composting project. And so I know
Wow,
other
wow,
cities
that's a
do.
great memory.
Yeah. Didn't you? I
That's
think
exactly
you did
right.
that.
Yes, yes, they do.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's been a lot of efforts to push it through. It's just haven't been, I guess, a priority for a lot of the other council members in the past. It hasn't been a priority for the administration in the past, but it's always been it's been brought up. I just don't know where it's at the current moment.
Okay, well, if you want any input from the local community to Jen Campbell, I think that, at least from our planning board, I think we're interested in composting and think it's, a concept that's worth considering.
Yeah.
Robert, you got a question? Go ahead.
Right. Oh, Monique, I just want to follow up with you about from our last meeting regarding parking enforcement in front of the post office on Cannon. I don't know if anything has been communicated about that, but obviously I don't see there hasn't been any, I haven't seen any effort of it at this point.
I think the last time I asked, it was send me an email with more details and like specific times that it's happening. If you want to send me a chat, more than happy to do that, just so I could have it in writing and I could really reach out to stuff.
Yeah, 3:30 to 5 in the afternoon is a problem.
And for all the board members, I think Monique sent us that infrastructure policy that I distributed to everybody. So you got that this week. So that has her email on it. So if you have questions for her, you can also email her directly now.
Yes.
And Monique, thank you for sending that over to us.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I don't see any other questions. So thank you, Monique. All right, Miller, now you're up.
All right, how's
Good to see
everyone
you, Miller.
doing? Good to see you guys. Miller Salsom with Senator Atkins' office. First off, on Famosa, no, I have no comment. I haven't worked for the council member for over a year, so I have very old knowledge. But I did want to give a quick report on what the legislature was able to do this year. First off, a reminder on Covered California. Open enrollment for Covered California started this month and ends January of next year. So there are 1.2 million people in California and 100,000 here in San Diego County that are currently uninsured, even though they're eligible for financial help through Covered California or Medi-Cal. So something we're trying to get the word out about. The legislative session ended August 31st, and the governor signed or vetoed bills by the end of September. The big highlights are the COVID-19 Tenant Relief Act. So that provides temporary stability and relief for Californians, basically legal and financial protections for tenants and small landlords, with the goal of keeping Californians housed. And I'll paste a link in the chat with more information. There's now a law that allows small businesses to exclude PPP loans from gross income for state taxes, and another law that authorizes a $100 million Main Street hiring tax credit for small businesses, and that's up to $1,000 in tax credits per employee hired, and up to I think 100,000 per business, and that's for businesses with less than 100 employees that lost income and employees due to the pandemic. Also, the state removed flavored tobacco from store shelves, which will do a lot to protect the kids in our lives. As always, we're here to help with any state-related issues. That has especially included recently unemployment benefits, because EDD is not perfect. So if you or anyone you know needs help with unemployment benefits, that is about 95% of what I do now. So happy to help. We've had a lot of success. And happy to answer questions about DMV. That has been a constantly changing, interesting discussion. And I know most of you, but if you do reach out, feel free to email me directly and just remind me where you're coming from, which community group you're with. And finally, as some of you may know, Project Home Key is a state program that works with local entities like our city to purchase and rehab hotels, motels, other vacant spaces, and convert them into housing units for Californians experiencing homelessness. San Diego has received $38 million, which accounts for 2 projects, 336 units, and 404 people housed. So that's something that we are very excited about. And finally, the governor signed an executive order directing the state by 2035 for all new cars and passenger trucks sold in our state to be zero emission vehicles. That'll do a lot for greenhouse gas emissions because currently transportation accounts for about half of our state's greenhouse gas emissions. And zero emission vehicles are already a key part of our economy, being our 2nd largest global export. Happy to take questions. That's all I got. Thanks.
Any questions for Miller? All right, well, thank you, Miller.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to see you. Tracy, we're gonna go to our favorite neighbors in Ocean Beach there, okay? You're up.
I actually don't have anything.
Unbelievable.
I know. I just wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving, but other than that, I don't have anything OB specific. So
Okay.
nothing
All right.
exciting. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you though, Tracy. And then Robert, do you want to give any report on behalf of the Point Loma Association?
They're just in the middle of doing a little campaign for some fundraising in lieu of the dinner last year. They're just asking people to maybe match the same type of sponsorships that were offered. And I think it's all on the website. Looks like they've been doing pretty well so far.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, there we go. We're making some progress tonight. I think that we're up for a presentation next, right? I think we're gonna, we have the people from SANDAG. They've been working on a central mobility hub. So if, I think it's Gia and Jack are going to present on that. And Corla, if you can coordinate with them, we'll put them up and have them give the presentation.
Yeah, they can start anytime, you guys. Joy told me you guys were, I think it was Joy told me you guys were ready, and you can screen share, and who's ever presenting can start anytime. And screen
Great.
share should be available.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone, and good evening. My name is Gia Balish. It will just be me today, not my colleague Jack. So if you'll give me just a moment, I'll share my screen now, and then we can get started. Okay. Hopefully, can everyone see that all right?
I can see it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for having me. Again, my name is Gia. I'm with the SANDAG Communication Department, and today I'm here to provide an overview of the Central Mobility Hub project, which is one of our current priority projects at SANDAG. So just to provide a very quick overview, I know all of you are probably familiar with SANDAG, but I myself have not presented to the group, so I just want to provide a quick overview in case anyone is new. So we are the San Diego Association of Governments. We are governed by a board of directors that is comprised of elected officials from the 19 local governments here in the San Diego region. So we serve as a forum for regional decision making, and we work very closely with partner agencies like MTS and Caltrans to develop long-term transportation solutions for the region. So we are a metropolitan planning organization. So a big part of what we do is consider transportation and land use planning, but we also focus on quality of life issues for the region, including the environment, economy, housing, and similar. So currently, we are working on several projects at any given time. Here before you, I have 5 of our current priority projects highlighted. I'll give you a quick, intro to each, but really our focus today is going to be on the Central Mobility Hub. So starting with Otay Mesa East, this is a project that we are currently working on to improve transportation at the Otay Mesa port of entry at the US-Mexico border. The Del Mar Bluffs project, we are currently working to stabilize the bluffs to enable safe and efficient transport for the low sand corridor, so the railway that runs along those bluffs. The Midcoast Trolley Project has been underway for a few years now. This project is going to extend the Blue Line trolley service from Santa Fe Depot in downtown San Diego north to the university community. So when that project is completed late next year, there will be a one-seat route all the way from the border to the university community and back. So, a really big improvement for connecting, improving regional connectivity. And then at the top there, you can see our regional plan. This is something that SANDAG works on every 4 years. It is our long-term blueprint for the San Diego region. So what we do is we develop transportation solutions, but we also take into account those factors I mentioned earlier, like the environment, the economy, housing, and ultimately we develop solutions to make San Diego the most livable, workable place as we continue to grow as a region. And one of the fundamental objectives of that 2021 regional plan is the Central Mobility Hub project that I'm going to share with you today. So to introduce you, what is this hub we're talking about? This is a transit center that we envision being the point of convergence for all current and future modes of public transportation here in the San Diego region. So this will be a central location where the trolley, Amtrak, Pacific Surfliner, the coaster, the bus routes, all will meet. And it will also be a place where we can provide different travel amenities to make it really a place of connectivity, but also activity. So perhaps having transit-oriented development nearby, additional office space, housing, recreational areas for the region. And of course, ensuring that this is a multimodal space that promotes walkability, bikeability throughout the area. So to give you an idea of how all of this came to be, SANDAG for many years has been focused on bringing public transit to the San Diego International Airport. So that's a big focus within the Central Mobility Hub project, and I'll go into that in a bit more detail a bit later in the presentation. But as a direct result of our trying to establish that transit connection to the airport, our board of directors in December of 2018 formed a subcommittee, the Airport Connectivity Subcommittee, that was tasked with coming up with solutions to solve that challenge of airport connectivity. So that group met for approximately 9 months to look at various alternative solutions, to conduct preliminary modeling and studies, and ultimately they came up with 4 potential concepts for this, for improving that connection. And 3 of those concepts, which I'll review with you shortly, involved a central mobility hub. Now those concepts were presented to our board of directors in September of 2019, and the board of directors at that time allocated $50 million for preliminary engineering and environmental work. So that's currently where we are now, is beginning those processes to advance this project. Now, around that same time in fall of 2019, we also began working with the Navy in their Old Town Revitalization project. We have since signed 2 agreements with the Navy to explore possibilities for redeveloping the Navy OTC site, which is home to NAVWAR. And that is one location we're considering for the Central Mobility Hub, which is why I reference it. And as of March of this year, we've also signed a memorandum of understanding with the City of San Diego, the San Diego County Airport Authority, and the Port of San Diego to ensure that we are working together in these major regional projects and really working together as we try to solve that challenge of airport connectivity. So again, this is something that, you know, the region has needed for quite some time, is a transit connection. So we're all trying to work together to see how we can do this, taking into account the airport's redevelopment, the port master plan, and community plans within the city. Now, I mentioned that the airport subcommittee came up with different concepts for consideration. So here are the first 2. And you can see, as I mentioned, they proposed a central mobility hub at the Navy Old Town campus location. That location, if you are not familiar with it, it's a little over 70 acres. It's the home of NAVWAR, or the old SPAY War. The Navy, you know, is working on redeveloping that site, as I mentioned. So these concepts would place the central mobility hub at that site. The first concept proposes an underground tunnel that would provide a direct connection to the airport. And then the second concept proposed an above ground automated people mover that would take a little bit longer route to provide access to the airport, also providing stops at the car rental center and Harbor Drive. The third concept that was proposed also included a central mobility hub, but it was proposed at a different location, which is a site that we call the Intermodal Transit Center site. This is a location that SANDAG had previously considered in past studies when we were looking into solutions for airport connectivity. This location is about 13 acres, and it is located just south of Washington Street, in between I-5 and Pacific Highway. So again, the concept here would include an automated people mover to the airport with stops at the rental center and Harbor Drive. And then the last concept proposed was an extension of our current trolley system, so bringing the trolley to the airport and thereby excluding a central mobility hub. Now, as I mentioned, we are working with the Navy in their concurrent project. This is significant because it is one location in consideration for our project. So the Navy's project is its own, it is a separate endeavor, but we are working with them to explore possibilities for how they might redevelop this 70-acre site that they have. The purpose of their project is to provide the Navy with modern NAVWAR facilities, which are critical to their cybersecurity mission. So they're in need of these new facilities. As you can see in this photo, the current facilities are the old World War II airline hangars. So, you know, they're not quite modern enough for their current needs. So what they're hoping to do is really redevelop this space to meet their mission, which is also critical to maintaining their presence here in San Diego for years to come, which is central to our economy. And in their project, they are considering alternate or additional uses for that land. So not just their own Navy facilities, but also potentially bringing in new housing, office space, recreation areas. And that's where SANDAG is coming in to work with them in exploring those opportunities, and ultimately also working on any connections or roadway improvements that may be necessary in the surrounding area. So the Navy is currently in the environmental review process for their project, which they are completing in accordance with NEPA. They have 5 alternatives that are being considered in that process. 2 of those alternatives consider a transit center at the Navor site. And that transit center is what we at SANDAG envision being a potential central mobility hub. So we are working with them throughout this. We are serving as a cooperating agency as they develop their environmental impact statement. If ultimately their environmental process selects one of the alternatives that includes a transit center, we will then take that into consideration as we move forward in the environmental process for our own central mobility hub project. And I've included the Navy's project website here, so you can always look up more information. At this time, they anticipate releasing their environmental impact statement early next year. Now, while all of this is going on, there's one more effort that I do need to mention that's going on at SANDAG, and that is our development of what are known as comprehensive multimodal corridor plans, or CMCPs. These are plans that we develop roughly every 5 years. They do allow us to be more competitive when it comes to state and federal funding. Ultimately, what a CMCP serves to do is develop transportation solution for corridors throughout the region. Our board of directors allocated $40 million toward this effort. So that money is going to go toward our developing transportation solutions for 12 corridors throughout the region over the next 5 years. We are currently working on 5 of those corridors. The next phase, we'll see the remaining. And one of the corridors that we're currently working on does include what we're considering the Central Mobility Hub project area. So it's going to look at concepts for the Central Mobility Hub, both at the Navy OTC site, as well as that intermodal transit site that I mentioned earlier. And it's going to take into account not only what the community might need or want to promote multimodal transportation, but also any sort of transportation improvements that may be needed should a central mobility hub come into the area. So roadway improvements, ways that we can help relieve congestion, reduce greenhouse gas miles, and overall make the surrounding area much more livable, walkable, bikeable. So the comprehensive multimodal corridor plan is also going to take into account the current community plans that are in place or soon to be in place, so that we can make sure that everything complements one another. So through this process, they're going to be exploring all different types of options, and the outcomes will ultimately inform the Central Mobility Hub project. So here you can actually see the study area for that one corridor that I mentioned. So you can see the dark blue area here is the study area for this plan. You can see it includes the airport as well as the Navy Old Town campus. The areas that are in lighter blue are what are considered areas of influence, including the peninsula. So these are areas that may not be directly impacted by the potential central mobility hub, but they are still areas where we have to take into account access to and from those communities. They're still going to be very critical to the considerations for this plan, which is exactly why I want to share this with you today. So just really quickly, I know I've spoken about quite a few different initiatives. So, this graph is really intended to kind of show you how they all connect. So you can see we have the Central Mobility Hub right there in the center. This is a critical part of our regional plan that we're hoping to have adopted in the late 2021. So again, that's the long-term blueprint for the region. We also have these comprehensive multimodal corridor plans that are currently underway. One of which focuses on the Central Mobility Hub area. And then you can see the Navy OTC Revitalization Project and the Greater Airport Connectivity topic are both linked to this as well, because we see one as a potential location and we see the hub as being a potential solution to that airport connectivity challenge in the region. So currently, we've conducted that initial airport connectivity analysis that I mentioned earlier. Now we are continuing to work with the Navy as well as our partner agencies, the city, the airport, and the port, in looking at preliminary engineering and environmental issues, and again, supporting the Navy in their project as well. The comprehensive multimodal corridor plan is beginning now. So we are already beginning to look at that study area, and that team is going to be holding a public workshop in January. So it's really important that, this group and other communities take part in that process, because ultimately what that plan hopes to do, again, is develop, solutions for that corridor. So as you saw, the peninsula is very closely related to that, the Midway area, the airport. So, we want to make sure that we are doing our best to take into account your concerns as well. There are going to be opportunities for public involvement through that process. And then we will begin our Central Mobility Hub environmental review, likely in spring 2021. So there will be additional opportunities for public involvement then. And then intermittently, as this project continues, ultimately, we're hoping that around spring 2022, we might be able to take a final design to our board of directors for approval. So as I mentioned, we are going to begin an environmental review process for the project this upcoming spring. Exact dates are still to be determined, but we will complete an environmental impact report through CEQA. There are going to be opportunities for public comment throughout that process. And even beforehand, again, we are going to have opportunities for public input and involvement by way of that CMCP development. So I do encourage all of you to, keep an ear out. I will share with you as soon as a date has been set for the January workshop. But we are hoping that the public will take part in that process to look at, the proposed concepts and solutions for the area. So with that, I thank you, and I'm here to take any questions you may have.
All right, well, Gia, thank you. If you get out of the, yeah, there, I can see the people. So we'll see what questions. I appreciate that. And I'll just make the editorial comment. I mean, there's so many other cities that I go to that do have a central hub, so you can get to an airport and then move around. So I think it's a great project. And if so, you have information on those dates that are coming up, send them to me so I can make sure that they get distributed to the board and other people in the community that are concerned.
Perfect.
So, yeah, thank you. So are there any questions for Gia at this time? Jim, go ahead.
So I understand we have the opportunity of the work that's going on with the Navy in terms of planning their site, and the long-term question with regards to how to provide transit access to the airport. Do you envision an actual project, and moreover, do you envision an actual source of funding to build such a multimodal center that would be active and ready for actual construction work, say in the 2022 timeframe? What funding are you looking at in order to actually implement such a thing?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And the short answer is that we still need to determine that. So funding sources are still, in consideration. Likely we will be seeking state and federal funding, especially federal funding for the project. In terms of any sort of, tax increment measure, that's something that we will consider as well. But all of this is, simply conceptual at this point. We don't have any set funding for the project, nor do we have a set timeline just now. The Navy is expediting their project. So, hopefully things will move very quickly at that site. If the Central Mobility Hub is ultimately determined to be located there, it will help that they're moving along as quickly as they are.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Other questions?
I don't have a question. I just have a comment. I'd like to see SANDAG or someone in the city of San Diego be brave enough to hold the Navy accountable for the emissions that they put in the environment when they travel to and from the bases. I know we've had an introduction for the new command who stated that he's excited about the possibilities of the Navwar site. But again, I'd like to see at this site possibly like a park and ride type situation for military personnel to park and then, take a shuttle of some sort to and from the base. If that's something in the plans, I'd like to hear more about that. But I really think we need to encourage our military. And I say this as a Navy, a military spouse, and so I know what I'm talking about. We need to hold them accountable, whether they're from here or not. They're utilizing our land, and they're making an impact on the environment in our community. And I'd like to see someone in our government to hold them accountable, or see if we could work through certain work groups and try to expand the option of carpooling to and from the base, or some alternate mode of transportation that's more environmentally friendly.
All right. Well, thank you, Mandy.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Gia? All right. Well, Gia, thank you. We appreciate it, and keep us posted on the project so that we can provide input.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and have a great evening.
Thank you. All right. Well, next up is the Mariners Cove, and my understanding of the Mariners Cove project, it's a big project. It's got a lot of interest. It's right on the borderline between us and Ocean Beach, and it's my understanding technically it's in Ocean Beach, and Ocean Beach is going to get to, and Tracy, you're going to get to vote on it. But because it's right on the edge, they wanted to, Ben came to me and wanted to present, and I think it's definitely an interest. Lots of us spending time down on West Point Loma Boulevard. So Ben, if you and your team can go ahead and give the presentation, we're happy to hear it.
Well, thank you so much, Fred. Great to be with you and your board. I am Ben Haddad of California Strategies. It's a public affairs firm, and we're working with the owners of Mariners Cove, AIMCO. And joining me tonight are company representatives, Patty Schwader, Derek Ulian, and Duke McClarty. We're going to be presenting to you this evening. But in a nutshell, as Fred was saying, AIMCO is planning to completely redo the Mariners Cove development. We are, or we will be, working with numerous government agencies, including the city of San Diego. Councilmember Jen Campbell and her staff, especially Josh Coyne, they've been very helpful in counseling us with respect to community outreach. And to that end, we did reach out to your board and the Midway Pacific Planning Group, as well as the Community Planning Board of Jurisdiction, which is Ocean Beach. And we did present to their project review committee back on October 21st, and are, I think, likely to give our first presentation, probably informational, to the full board in December at the December 2nd meeting. AIMCO is really interested in working closely with the community, as they do in every instance where they develop. And we really appreciate the opportunity to present to you tonight. And with that, let me just introduce the AIMCO Senior Vice President, Patty Schwader, to kick things off.
Thanks, Ben, and thank you to the board. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Wish we could be there in person. I think there's two of me on the screen, and I'm not sure why, but maybe more is better, or maybe not. I'm here with my partner, Derek Ulian, who's our Regional Development VP based in California, and we're going to just go through a quick presentation. Derek, why don't you go to the first slide? The purpose of our visit here tonight, as Ben said and Fred said, is we want to be good neighbors, and we want to be part of the community. We've been part of the community for quite a long time, and we intend to be here for a long time. If you haven't heard of AIMCO, we're one of the largest owners of and operators of apartments in the country. We're a public company. We have more than 10,000 apartments in 40 communities in California, 8 of which are in the San Diego area, with about 2,300 apartment homes. We're an experienced owner of affordable housing. At one point, we were the largest owner of affordable housing in the country. And so we know how to do this, and have done it well. We've owned Mariners Cove for quite a long time, since 2002. And as we looked around at all of our wonderful properties around the country, we thought this is one that is in a fantastic new location, but it needs a little love, or maybe a lot of love. So we're going to tell you a little bit about that. I mentioned AIMCO Cares, which is our philanthropic arm. We talked a little bit about tree planting and things like that earlier. We've got a team of volunteers, which we give time to volunteer in the community. So if you have projects that you would like us to partner with you on, we would love to do so. We paint things, fix things, and do other things. And we've donated millions of dollars to the community as well. Derek, you want to go to the next one, please? Derek? Thank you.
There's a little bit of a lag, sorry.
That's okay. Existing conditions, I'm sure most, if not all of you know exactly where this is. Right off West Point Loma Boulevard and Nimitz, and this is the site plan in the middle, adjacent to the Barnes Tennis Center for your reference. Do you want to go to the next one? While we've maintained it and maintained it well over the years, it really is obsolete. The infrastructure is old. And as I said earlier, it needs a little love, or maybe a lot of love. We looked at rehabilitating the property, but frankly, as we further, we figured we could have a brand new community for the area, which could really benefit everybody involved. So the goals is to really be a community that respects and enhances the neighborhood consistent with the Ocean Beach Community Plan. We see Kevin here and a couple others, and as Ben said, we presented to them and we'll be talking to the full board soon. We know San Diego has many housing needs, and this is a really exciting project because it provides both market rate and attainable affordable housing. We're doing it on our dime, $400 million in private investment at no cost to taxpayers. Development impact fees will obviously fund improvements to parks, recreation facilities, and things in the area. So what are we going to do? It's 500 units now. We're going to construct 772 new apartments and amenities for all the residents, which is an increase of 272 apartments. 300 apartments, or about 40%, will be affordable at 80% to 100% AMI, and that's 100% affordable. At 80% AMI, we have a HUD contract on the property, Section 8 at 80%, and 200 affordable at 120%. And then the balance, the 472, is really sort of a workforce housing missing middle type project. There will be some higher end on there, and of course the affordable at the lower end, but the majority of them are going to be missing middle to try and meet the housing needs of San Diego. Derek, you want to go to the next one? Zoning, it's 31 acres. It's actually a large site. It's in Ocean Beach, as we've talked about before. It's got a lot of development standards that we'll be working through over, during the next year. It's got a coastal height limitation. It's in the airport overlay zone, airport approach zone, transit priority area, coastal parking, sensitive coastal overlay zone, fire brush zone, etc. We're 30-foot height limit, which we're staying within for the project. Want to go to the next one? Transit connectivity, loved the presentation before from SANDAG on transit connectivity. That is a goal of ours as well. It'll be a transit-oriented development. It's in a transit priority area, and it'll have capacity for more housing and connection to the open space, which it really does not have now. Hey, Derek, I'm going to send it to you.
So up here on the screen is a superimposed rendering of how we envision the future of the community. I think one of the things that you can glean from this image that wasn't in the photos of the existing is the difference in the different communities and neighborhoods, and also swapping the parking lots for open green space. You know, we develop in a lot of communities. We're a national company, but we take the local community very seriously. And when we start every project, we start with the community plan. So if we were developing in your area, we'd go to your community plan. But here in Ocean Beach, we went to the Ocean Beach Community Plan to make sure what we were designing, building, and envisioning aligns with what the community at large wants. And you guys spend so much time, energy, and effort in creating your community plans, so it's only right to respect that. And so going through the Ocean Beach community plans, these are sort of the highlights of what our forward design sort of aligns with the community beach plan. The land use is consistent with the Ocean Beach plan. The proposed development is all by right, and within the community plan. Conservation, so really using native and location appropriate, drought tolerant landscaping, mobility to hop back on the SANDAG comment. We're very looking forward to the multimodal pathway, the bike pass. We're a mile from the beach. If you can't get to it by bike, that's just an overall shame. So really making sure that we enhance sidewalks and walkabilities and pathways and easy connectivity from our community to the community at large, and providing enough parking so that it doesn't spill over to the community. Taking that same approach and reviewing the Peninsula Community Plan, there's some highlights that you guys see as a benefit to your plan that also is something that we're going to be providing as your next door neighbor. One of those is a balance of residential types and densities in new developments. There's going to be everything from 1-bedrooms to 4-bedroom townhomes, and everything in between is a diverse mix of residential types. Also is, affordability. As Patty mentioned, there's 100 at 80 AMI and 200 at 120. It's almost 40% of the community at affordable rent levels. This is a high level site plan. It's colored to highlight the fact that we've got 32 acres and we don't want to just plop one community down of buildings that all look the same and are all the same height. And we do have the 30-foot height limit here. And so often you get that buzz cut that comes across the top because you really just need to meet the 30-foot height limit. And so each one of these colors represents a different architectural design, a different community, a different neighborhood within the overall master plan to really not only diversify style and look, but also unit mix, and which then bleeds into the target customer or how the neighborhood's curated. For example, the orange triangle that we're naming Vega or Block 5 is mostly 1s and 2 bedrooms. But then Block 4 over to the bottom left is almost all 2s and 3s. So each individual neighborhood architecturally different as well as unit mix different. These are some high-level initial concept renderings of how we envision the community will look. A big point that's taken from not only the Ocean Beach Community Plan, but the Ocean Beach community at large is really creating diverse neighborhoods. I mean, Ocean Beach is really an eclectic fabric of woven architectural styles, and we want to respect that. Varying the building massings, I said, all too often you get sort of this buzz cut look, and we really want to push and pull with the balconies and celebrate the open space and what is living in San Diego. We're looking to the surrounding community to pull the character of Ocean Beach neighborhoods and be relatable to that small scale character of the community. Really designing around courtyards, getting away from those 1980 planning principles where it's all about the car. We want to give this community back to open space and parks for gathering and networking in this age of COVID, where it's so important to extend the 4 walls of your homes into that open space to really be able to get out and enjoy the community. This is a rendered site plan. Also just want to draw your attention to the overall green space that has been converted from the asphalt and parking lot. What's not depicted on here is we're right against the Famosa Slough. And part of this plan is to set a 100-foot setback from the Famosa Slough. Today, we're about 50 feet from the Famosa Slough. And so adding an additional 50 or so feet, but 100-foot wetland buffer setback to restore that natural habitat and make sure that the bird watching and all that is the great parts of Famosa Slough is there for the entire community, not just our community. This slide is also meant to highlight the sustainable design. It's something that's very important to Aimco, developer, very important to our customers as our residents, and we know it's something that's very important to San Diego as a community. We're going to have over 80 parking spaces for electric vehicles, photovoltaics to offset the energy usage, stringent water protocols for potable and recyclable water use, and really complying with the California green building codes of 2020 set some of the stringent green building standards in the country. So a new product based on what is today a 1980s building is going to go leaps and bounds towards sustainable architecture and sustainable design. I will hand this back over to Patty to talk about some of the phase development and relocation.
Okay, so what happens to the residents there is a question, and it's something we're very concerned about too. We're in the business of keeping our residents, and that's what we plan to do. All the affordable residents that are there now will remain on site during construction, and they'll be moved around the site. It's going to be a phased construction, and any movement will be funded and administered by AIMCO. Our business model is to have properties in great locations and add value through redevelopment. So we've really successfully located thousands of residents during redevelopment throughout the country. And we have a pretty tried and true plan on how to do that. We work with residents individually to meet their needs. We have a resident relocation specialist on site. For those who love Mariners Cove and want to come back, they get first dibs. We offer them for the first opportunity to come back to New Mariners Cove. And then, you know, being a large apartment company, we have 7 communities with 1,800 apartments outside of Mariners Cove in San Diego. So during construction, if a resident wants to live there, we will move them and move them back. And then I said first, you know, they have opportunity to move. Do you want to talk about this relocation a little bit? This is the phased approach that I just discussed.
And so this is very high level conceptual thinking. We're still working through the entitlement process, and we're a little ways away, which we'll talk about on the next slide. But essentially, we're looking at it as a 4-phased approach. And so the first phase here would be this blue phase here, where we would take down this portion of the community. It's about 168 units that would be removed and build this first phase here, which would add back 330 units, instantly bringing the unit count above where we started today at the 500. And the second phase would sort of be moving clockwise around the site is this red phase here. We take this portion down and build back this second phase, and then come and take this third phase down, build back this third phase, and then finally take down this fourth phase and complete the entire project. Just to piggyback on where we are in the overall process, we're working with the environmental agency within the Department of Development Services. We're hoping to have a notice of preparation out in the next few weeks. We will be seeking our coastal development permit, followed by Planning Commission, and then we hope to have our building permit somewhere around the summer of 2022 or spring of 2022. So it's a long process, and we just wanted to make sure to come out and meet with you guys early enough in the process to keep everyone included and notified. This is a list of the project team here. Really, we put this slide in to show how serious we are about the overall project, and how most of the team is concentrated in San Diego offices. One of the members earlier today talked about the other project that has a development team coming in from San Francisco. We're sensitive to that and want to make sure that our team is local and knows what the needs of the San Diegans are that we're building for are all about. So with that, I end on what is the area that we're calling our promenade, which is our big open space. And I'll turn it back over to Fred. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you. No, that was very, very interesting, and obviously well thought out. And I really appreciate you sharing that. And you know, everybody wants to be good neighbors, so I appreciate you coming and showing that to us. So I don't know, does anybody on out there have a question? Go ahead, Robert.
So was this originally, I think it was built around 1980, was this originally meant to be low-income housing?
It always, Patty, you can answer.
That's a good question. And I don't know the answer. It's always had an affordable component, but I don't think it was ever 100% low income housing. It's always had market rate.
Yeah, I was young then, but that's what I kind of recollect. So, and then, because I know right now when I see the advertisements, it's not inexpensive. It's 25, 26, 2,700 a month are the rental numbers, what I observe. But so as far as the affordability goes, on that commitment, how long down the road will that last? Is there like a 5, 10, 15-year time stretch?
Great question. It's actually longer than that. It's on a ground lease to the San Diego Housing Commission, and so it's 55 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. And what about recreation? I see maybe a pool and a jacuzzi, but is there any playgrounds, tennis courts, or, you know, fitness centers or anything like that that's going to be accompanied in the development?
Derek, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, there'll be recreational amenities, pools, gyms, children's play equipment, exercise trails, and all the likes.
Okay,
There will
perfect. Well,
not
thank
be tennis courts since we're next to the barns.
you. The barns, yeah, right. You get
Yep.
free memberships, right?
Yeah, so they have their own deal over there.
Right. Well, thank you so much. Great. Looks encouraging.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Robert.
Any other questions? Mandy, go ahead.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I really do appreciate you coming in front of our board and showing us your plans. My one question I had, while I do appreciate that you're under, you're within the 30-foot height limit, you have quite a few one bedrooms. How did you determine how many units were one bedroom as opposed to multi-rooms for this site?
So we're
Is
still
there an
working.
opportunity for more, 2 to 3 bedrooms? Because my children, a lot of the families that go to their school, several live in Mariners Cove, and they enjoy living there. And my concern is there was quite a few 1-bedroom units. I thought maybe, since I'm aware it's more of a family type neighborhood, if there would be an opportunity to ensure that families are going into that community.
And it's all market driven, and so nothing is finalized at this point, and that's great to hear that a large community that we can push it more towards the 2 and 3 bedroom apartment homes.
Okay.
So we're definitely looking.
And one last thing, I do appreciate you again taking notice of the Famosa Slough that's neighboring that property and taking extra steps to mitigate any potential impacts to that slough that's a treasure of our community. And then the other thing is, again, that you've got quite a bit of percentage for affordable housing, and you said it's in a range. So you're kind of, housing is a need. I do appreciate, again, that you got quite a bit of affordable housing at that site with this renovation. So thank you.
Thank you. That was the goal. Is to have a middle market and affordable. There'll be some diversity of products, so there'll be some higher end, but it'll really be a diverse neighborhood that we think will be a real credit and an addition to the neighborhood. So thanks for the comment.
Thank you.
Hey, Jim, looks like Jim Hare, you have a question?
Yeah, just a very brief one. To what do you attribute the 50% turnover rate? What is it about this project that seems high?
There's actually nothing about this project that does. That's actually industry standard, believe it or not.
Okay.
And our turnover in the business, it may be at 40 now, is actually mostly better than our peers and competitors. But that's turnover. People move into rental housing for a variety of reasons. Some want to stay forever. Some are transition. Some, want to buy a home or move to something bigger and have a couple of kids. So that's industry standard.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Corla, you got a question? Go ahead.
I do, two. The first one, I know you guys are across the street from that slough, but we reviewed a project over there, and the Formosa bird people were all over it about reflective surfaces in the birds. Do you anticipate any problems with that? And then I'll ask the next question after you answer.
No, we don't. And there's a pretty thorough environmental review that's going through. And I believe yesterday or the day before, I actually had a call with the Audubon Society. So bringing them in early as well to make sure that, we're working together. I think part of it too is we want to keep trash out of it and cats. And so partnering with them to educate not only the community at large, but our own community helps to mitigate issues like that.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And I echo many of the comments already made. I have a question about this affordable and workforce. You mentioned both, and we've been educated in the last few years on those. Our community seems to want to push back on affordable, but yet workforce sounds better. And is that two different things for you guys? And can you explain that a little more? Because people, when you say affordable, people see the projects in Chicago and, all that kind of stuff. And I don't believe that's happening here, but can you elaborate that just a little more for me?
Sure. And that's a great question. And people throw a bunch of different terms around, and it's hard to keep up with it the same as us. We'll have 180% AMI, which is affordable. And at 120%, also 200, which is about moderate income. It's not the deep affordability at 30 or 50 or 60 that is in other areas. And then this missing middle attainable housing, it is for folks who make too much money for 80% and 120% ANI, but can't afford some of the really high prices in San Diego. And so if you're priced out of the low end and you can't go into the top end, where do you go? So the idea of this is that it's a very moderate workforce, attainable, it's market rate. But it is for folks that, want a great place to live, but can't afford the high prices.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, well, thank you, Patty and Derek and Ben and the whole group. So we appreciate it, and good luck with your project.
Thank
Thanks
you,
very
everyone,
much.
for your time
Appreciate
tonight.
tonight.
Thank you.
All right. All right, well, with that, I think it's been productive so far, but I think we want to roll through some committee reports now and just give us an idea where we're going to go. And we have a little time. So I thought maybe we'd kick it off with Margaret and long range planning and see what you guys are up to and where you're headed.
I haven't been able to schedule a meeting, but since there are a few things in the community after listening to CPC, and then the Midway project coming through the pipeline with Spaware and MCRD, that's not even being discussed out there in the community right now, but there is information. I am going to hold a meeting here, hopefully trying to see when, because we're going into holiday season. So next week is I'll figure out a date and let the board know. But yeah, I don't want anybody to think that we're not gonna meet. We definitely will have a meeting soon and keep these items on our radar of all the new projects coming in that are going to heavily impact us. Measure E passed. So that was a heavy hit. We now have to plan forward and getting, invested in the development plans. And there's still going to be a lot of reports that they have to run on the project to even see if the height deal will be feasible. So we'll be definitely involved in all those meetings and report back to the board and add it to the long range planning long-term list.
Okay.
And I think, Margaret, also it's important that we have some collaboration with other developments surrounding the Midway Sports Arena area that are going to be coming up. Riverwalk, Presidio Hills Golf Course, I hear half of that's going to be developed. I mean, it's going to be a huge impact.
I know.
Yeah, for
you're right.
Everybody, everything.
You're right. I've gotten tons of things that are not being built in our community. For instance, there's stuff in Mission Beach. There's, stuff in, there's stuff all around us. And unfortunately, Point Loma, we're on the tip. I mean, we can't swim out of here. So literally we really have to keep all those projects on our radar. So, I encourage you all, please, to send me a list. If you hear things out there that are in the pipelines, please send it to me so I can put it on our agenda for discussion. And that way create some sort of list that we can keep revisiting every year as the board grows and new board members come on. We'll have a working list. I already kind of have some of the stuff that Jim has worked so hard on the last few, years. We have to keep that list going. So I'm happy to share that list once we really have it finalized.
So I think if everybody communicates and works together, it's going to be much more successful than people going rogue. And then there's going to be collisions and, problems.
Yeah, and that's why I really appreciate when Fred really sends us those notifications, the ones he gets, because we're able to act quickly on it with the community. And I think that's what the community appreciates is our ability to, I manage 68 community pages. So that right there alone is quite a bit to get the message out pretty quickly and via email as well. And a lot of you are I'm happy to see that a lot of the board members are getting on to Nextdoor because, every reach is a different reach if you post. So if you can help us out with that and just kind of scope through Nextdoor, if you see any conversations coming through the pipelines, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to put it on the list for discussion.
Okay. Thank you, Margaret. One of the things that Margaret mentioned was complete community. So Corlett, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add from CPC, but I'm very concerned about that. So where do we stand with CPC?
Well, we're screwed. It's been done. They announced it and a week later they voted on it or so. So the only thing that didn't go was the parks part of it that they're working on. So, and we have a great committee and proactive people that can take, that I think have their fingers in that probably better well versed than I am. And, that Margaret's got a tough job in her position because this stuff is coming down hard and fast, not only from the city, but from the state. And it's impossible to keep up. So we're just kind of playing catch up. So we'll see what comes up Tuesday at CPC. There's nothing big on their agenda right now either. And really no action. I don't think that anybody can take. So we're kind of stuck.
Okay. You mentioned parks. Mandy, what's going on with Parks and Recreation?
We have our next Parks and Recreation Subcommittee meeting coming up on December 3rd at 6 p.m. And we're going to take the Point Loma RAG letter that Margaret presented earlier in the meeting and discuss that and see if there's a possible action that our subcommittee can take and bring to the board when we reconvene at our next board meeting. We're also looking to expand participation. So we will be considering an application for the subcommittee from Delana Purcell. She has been joining some of our meetings. She's a part of the Sunset Cliffs Natural Park Council, and she's expressed desire to become involved more in the community. So again, if you have any other community members who are looking to get involved, let them know. We've got opportunities in some of these subcommittees for them. The next meeting for traffic and transportation will be December 8th as well at 6 p.m. We only have one action item currently, but again, we're going to have the continued discussion regarding Sunset Cliffs and a possible request from the city to conduct traffic studies, look at the Sunset Cliffs neighborhood as well to see if they can provide additional relief to that community with some of their traffic concerns that they've been experiencing. I will agree with Margaret, that Measure E passed. That was a bitter pill to swallow. I don't know if you all know, but the entire peninsula actually voted against it, including the Midway districts. So that was very unnerving to hear, but there's a lot of things going on around our community. We're just trying to bring some positive changes and some solutions. So again, if you know anyone who's interested in trees, go to katestrees.org. You can either buy one for yourself or donate one for a friend. That's all I've got for now. Eva, did you want to talk about, we haven't really made plans for the environmental subcommittee yet, but maybe in the new year, do you think there would be an opportunity to have a meeting?
Yeah, so environmental, we haven't had a meeting and it's been pretty quiet. I think on our agenda coming up is, again, looking at a mission statement for a permanent environmental committee going forward, and then bringing that to the board for consideration and making that a permanent instead of an ad hoc committee.
Okay, well, good.
I just want to say one thing on Mandy's on the traffic and transportation. I tell you, I have ran some new polls on social media, and we as a board have done so amazing the last couple of years in fixing a lot of the community issues. And so I want to thank everyone on this board for listening and taking action the last couple of years, because I'm putting stuff out there and the community's like, this has been fixed. This is working better. Or I'm getting a lot of positive feedback versus this hasn't been fixed yet. Or, positive versus complaints. So I think that's got to make everyone on this board feel good that we are listening to people. We are taking action as much as we can and really getting some stuff fixed for the community, for the safety and, all that good stuff. So good job, everyone.
Yep. Just to give everybody an update on the airport is that got a communication from the airport chair, and currently airport operations are down 67%. So it continues to be quieter in our community. Interesting on the COVID front in that airlines are now starting to give COVID tests at the airport. So if you're going someplace, I guess Hawaii is the example. So if you're going to Hawaii, you need a COVID test to go there. I believe that Alaska will give you a COVID test. You have to plan ahead and make a scheduled appointment, but you can get your COVID test at the airport.
Cool.
And so I think that's sort of the new modern wave. The airport's optimistic that slowly but surely operations will start to improve. They've got a couple of new flights, one to Cancun, a direct flight to Cancun. And so if people are willing to risk COVID to go to Cancun, you can get there direct.
Have any of you seen the San Diego Tourism Authority? And I've even seen Los Angeles advertisements where people are wearing masks and they're inviting people back into San Diego to come travel and visit and be a tourist. I don't know. Who do we talk to about that being inappropriate?
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, the airport wants people to fly. So, and they're also continuing to work on the Terminal 1 redevelopment. So that's going to continue to move forward. And the next ANAC meeting will be in December. Go ahead, Margaret.
Question for you, Fred. Really quickly, in regards to like the airport noise and all that good stuff, I've been seeing a lot of complaints from neighbors in La Playa and Kellogg's in regards to big, huge military craft airplanes flying over in that area religiously, like almost every other day. And they're not able to get answers on why those aircrafts are flying over La Playa and Kellogg's.
Yeah, so there's a couple issues on airport noise, but on that one is that the military does whatever they want, and they don't report to us. So yeah, so that's all Coronado, and they do not report to ANAC, and we have really no impact on that. And so I'm not really sure there's anything you can do except for hope that military decides to do different operations. And there was an article in the OB Point Loma Monthly magazine. So, and I guess the biggest debate on noise really is that there's some current friction between the Point Loma people that are on the Part 150 committee and the La Jolla people. And La Jolla people are pushing really hard to push all the noise back into really into Ocean Beach. And so the people from Point Loma are pushing to have it spread out a little bit more evenly. So that's, I don't know, Tracy, do you have any comments on that? Go ahead.
So I've been attending the PB Town Council and the Mission Beach Town Council. And I can't remember which one it is, but there is a gentleman on there that is adamant that the airport is breaking noise laws or doing something bad. And he's complaining about all of the noise that's going over, I think it's like, right by the Weir over here, which is near where I live. And I'm like, wait, I don't understand. Ocean Beach gets a ton of airport noise, and he's complaining about the occasional airport noise that happens there. And, he doesn't want to share the wealth. That's all I have to say. And he complains about it every single time.
Yes.
So there's something going on over there. They don't want any noise. They want to push it all back into OB and make OB pay for everything. So I'm like, share the wealth.
Good, Robert?
Yeah, going back a long time ago with North Island, what Point Loma Association did was they gathered up the highest ranking officers out here that lived, mostly 3 or 4 admirals, to be a liaison with North Island. And that actually kind of helped mitigate some of the problems that were going concurrently, because we were having problems at that time with people flying over the point late at night. And so I don't know if that's something that could still be a possibility, because I think those people then are all gone now, but that was kind of the solution to help mitigate some of that impact.
Okay. All right, do we have any other committees that want to make any reports? All right, that's it. All right, well, it was a good meeting. I really like seeing everybody. We're going to be dark in December, and we'll see everybody in January. And I think we'll probably have some committees moving things forward, and project review has some stuff for us. So everybody have a healthy holiday, and
Happy Thanksgiving.
happy Thanksgiving.
Adios.
All right.
Thanks, Coral.
Good to see you, Jim.
Thank you, Corla, for hosting another great meeting.
Well, hey, we're experts now, Robert. We practice.
I know yeah, God, I mean, all this new stuff is just gonna be, everything's been stuffed into a short year.
Yeah, it sure has.
Hey, Corla, this is Paul. Why don't you send me that file and I can put it up whenever you get it of the Zoom meeting.